This talk is for the first year student of the University of Distance Education. It is for all specializations except English. Now I will be dealing with Unit 8, his part. It is a storytelling about a housewife living in countryside. Before reading the story, you should know the learning goals of this unit. They are the behavior of Mapo. The husband became disgusted. He became a man. When you read this story, you will find out a new word and sentence structure more. They are calling the language goals. After learning this lesson, you will have to improve your reading and writing skills. By reading this lesson, it will help you how you should tell a sort of story in action. The language goals for learner in this story are as follows: to improve your reading and writing skills, to build new vocabulary, to study the past continuous tense passive pattern, to practice writing. Now, we are going to read the first scene of the story. Cousin awoke to Mapo's voice shouting at her son in the tamarind tree. "Get down from there at once before you fall." "Where is your sister?" "Down by the stream," the boy replied. "Cousin," Mapo cried, turning to him. "Do you leave your children unwatched like that? A fine father you are." The daughter appeared with muddy hands and the boy climbed down the tree. Cousin looked at the children. They hid behind their mother. There are husband Cousin and his wife Mapo. Their son is on the tamarind tree. Mapo calls her son in loud voice to come down from the tree. Cousin wakes up and he sees his wife calling her son to climb down. She asks him where his sister is. He responds her, she may be down by the stream. At the same time, Mapo asks her husband in a very disappointed mood how he is looking after their children. So he looks at the children angrily and they hide behind their mother as they are afraid of his angry look. The first scene describes the way how the family deals with one another. It is Mapo's attitude on her husband Cousin, her keeping on their children, Cousin's mood and his wife's behavior. Let's read the second scene together. "Here are the cherries you wanted," said Mapo coldly, and thrusting them at him, he herded the children into the kitchen. Cousin's eye followed them, and Mapo washed her daughter's hands and gave the children biscuits to eat. Then sitting down, she stretched her legs out, untied her hair, bent forward and let her hair hang above her legs. "Massage my back with your elbows," she told her son. He did so, keeping his biscuit between his teeth. The shaking of her back under the pressure of his elbows and the swing of the hair as her head swayed made Mapo look as if she were possessed by an evil spirit. Where you can find out how Mapo behaves her husband Cousin. She gives the cherry in a respectable way and says to him normally. She cleans her daughter's hands and gives them food to eat in the kitchen. She sits lazily and untied her hair. She makes her son massage on the back. Her sitting manner seems a devil. This scene describes how much Cousin is disappointed of his wife Mapo. Now, let's read the third scene. Cousin watched and heaved a deep sigh of disgust. "I must put on the yellow robe," I thought. However, he did not dare tell his wife till the year had turned. Soon 3 months had passed, though Cousin had said that he would wear the yellow robe for only a month. Mapo's aunt, who had come to her look after the children, began to long for her own children and her own village. When will the celibate return to live life, she asked the man one day. The man did not reply. Instead, she quoted sacred verses praising the life of a monk. The sacred verses did not enter the aunt's ears. She only felt angry because she considered she was being cared there unfairly. In this scene, you could know how much Gusin felt disappointed on his wife's bad manner, and he decided to become a man. But he dared not tell her about his idea, so the main idea is to wear yellow robe for a man. In those days, Mapo's aunt would come and look after their children. After a month, she would like to go back her village. So, Mapo wanted Isaribe to return home, but she was angry at the monk's response. The man did not want to come back to live life. Instead, she cited the sacred verses and expressed how much valuable the monk's life is. Okay, let's go on reading the following scene or the last scene or the first part of this story. When the man had departed, she went and found Mapo. Mapo, I want to go back. Tell your man to take out the yellow road. I can't stay on any longer as a servant in your house. Mapo too wanted her husband to return home. She had mentioned the matter once or twice, only to be turned aside with a sermon. Now the time was near when the monks would go into retreat for 3 months. Not knowing what to do, she discussed the problem with a friend. After much talk, they both burst into laughter. In this scene, Mapo tried her husband to come back home as a layman. Her aunt also did not want to live any longer. The man did not agree her request, and he also wanted to keep living as a monk. She only could not keep their children, so the crisis was very difficult for her to solve. Then Mapo discussed with her friend, and at last they laughed as if they got a good idea. A brief on the first part of the story is, there was a couple, Gusin and Mapo, with 2 children. Gusin was fed up with Mapo, so he became a man. Mapo's aunt had to stay and look after the family. The aunt wanted to return to her own village. Although Mapo requested the man to return to live life, she did not succeed. Finally, Mapo's friend advised her to solve the matter. Now, let's move on to exercise 1. The first type of exercise you need to study is reading comprehension. An unseen passage is given, and so you have to read the text first. After that, you have to answer true or false questions for your close reading. Close reading 1.1, true or false. The first type of question is you have to find out whether the given statements are true or false. Read the given statements and the passage carefully and find out whether they have the same meaning or idea mentioned in the passage. Remember that you may have different sentence constructions. Let me give you an example. In the question, given statement is, Gusin was sleeping when Mapo returned. In the passage, there are a sentence like this. Gusin awoke to Mapo's wife shouting at her son in the tamarind tree. If you compare these 2 sentences, you will find that they have the same meanings. Therefore, the correct answer is true. For the remaining of the questions, you can attempt in the same way. Now, let's try to answer the questions together. The first one is, Where was their son when Mapo returned? For this question, you have to look at the first sentence of the first paragraph. There, you will see the clue word in determinant 3, so that you can easily know where he is. So, the answer for this question is, their son was in determinant 3 when Mapo returned. The second one is, what did Mapo do with the cheroots she had bought? For this question, it is also in the following scene. Okay, let's look at the sentence. Here are the cheroots you wanted, said Mapo coldly and thrusting them at him. She herded the children into the kitchen. In this sentence, you have to know thrusting them at him means what. Here, thrusting them at him means she pushed the cheroots to him suddenly and violently. So, the answer for this question is, Mapo thrust the cheroots at Gusi. Here are some more questions for you to answer. You should try to answer this question by yourself. Now, I will move on to word study. You need to learn these similar meanings by heart. In your exam, you have to write down the way you have mentioned in this slide. But here you have to keep in mind in the exam that we will not ask you in a direct way. This means that we will sometimes change the form of the words, the form of the verse, and so on. Let's look at exercise 1. In the given sentence, the underlined word or crucial word is came into sight. You will find the similar meaning of the underlined word. In the study guide, the similar word for that is appear. Here, notice that the underlined word is written in past simple form. The correct word you need to consider is appear, which has to be written in past form. Through this exercise, you can study the meaning of some more words. Word study similar meaning. 1. Came into sight is equal to appear. And then, given suddenly and violently is equal to thrusting. And then, gather is equal to herded. Alone is equal to led. Move from side to side is equal to sway. Seize equal to possess. Want very much equal to long for. Thought equal to consider. Left equal to departed. Remain equal to stay on. Refer to equal to mention. Began to laugh equal to burst into laughter. Another word study is how a new word and adjective is formed by adding a suffix y to the stem word and noun. This means that if you add a suffix y to the noun blood, it will form a new word and adjective as bloody. In the same way, some other new words can be formed by adding the suffix y. Instead of saying, 1 covered in blood me bloody, 2 covered in dirt me dirty, 3 covered in fur me furry, 4 covered in hair me hairy, 5 covered in rust me rusty, 6 full of noise me noisy, 7 full of water me watery, 8 full of hair me hairy, 9 full of gas me gassy, 10 full of sun me sunny, 11 full of anger is angry. Okay, let's move on to structure study. In this unit, you will have to study active and passive forms of past continuous tense. First of all, I would like to discuss the structure past continuous tense. To be able to answer this structure, you have to know some points. The structure of past continuous active form is was with verb ing or present participle. In this form, it is to express referring to the action doing in the past. The person or thing that does must be stated first, and the action form of past continuous tense needs to be followed it with the thing that is done. Here, you must be careful of subject verb agreement rules. The passive form of past continuous tense is was were being verb ed or past participle. In this structure, you have to start the sentence with the object or the thing that is done, and must follow this passive verb form. There may be a subject or the person who does it, with the preposition by after this if it is necessary. You can look at the example sentence. The children were being looked after by Maple's aunt. In addition, the past continuous and simple past can be used together with a sort of conjunctions. But you should know which action or happening must be used with what kind of tenses. In the past, there would be two actions, a new action and a longer action. You can note that a new action means a short or second action. So, a new action must be used with simple past and a longer action must be used with past continuous tense. Here, you can look at the example sentence. He was sitting in a cafe when I saw him. Okay, let's study the examples. The first sentence is, the children should look after by Maple's aunt. In this example, the children is the person who is cat and it is the plural noun. The form you should use is the past continuous passive. So, you have to choose the verb were being and the past participle form of action verb look after. The answer must be the children were being looked after by Maple's aunt. The second example is, oxygen should give to the patient when he died. There are two actions. The first or longer action is give and the second or new action is die. The word oxygen is uncountable noun and it is the thing that is done. We have to use a singular verb for uncountable noun. So, the right answer is, oxygen was being given to the patient when he died. By doing these exercises, I believe you are going to improve your command of language. I will stop my lecture here. See you again.